Okay. To the extent that my remarks tonight are supposed to be about the state of our union, I am indebted to all of our past presidents, and especially to our most recent president, Joel Wagman. I report today not on anything that I have accomplished since becoming president on July 1st, but on the legacy of their efforts and of the tireless work of Rabbi Brown, Cantor Becker, Rabbi Glickman, Jody Glassman, and more recently, but nonetheless significantly, our new temple administrator, Fawn Mendel, as well as all of our fabulous teachers, wonderful staff, and the amazing volunteers who make everything happen here. With a special shout out to both the women of SSTTE, whose co-presidents will be joining me in shifts tonight on the Bima, and to the Brotherhood, whose co-presidents will be joining me tomorrow, for all of their fabulous and meaningful programs. By both quantitative and qualitative measures, we have much to feel good about. As our treasurer, Stephen Eichen, reported at the congregational meeting in June, we have a strong balance sheet with substantial assets, and we have no debt. Our operating budget for 2018-19 is at approximately break even. Our membership numbers have been stable over the past few years, and according to the results of the URJ Congregational Survey distributed earlier this year, we have every reason to expect the stability to continue. Our nursery school programs have steadily increased in enrollment and profitability, while our religious school continues to work to rebuild and grow. Nonetheless, we know that we face challenges like many other synagogues today. Rates of affiliation have decreased, fewer members join simply because it is traditional to do so, and membership demographics are unevenly spread among the generations. We know that our future community will look different than it does today, just like our current community is different than that of our parents. In 2018, we sent out to gather input from our membership about the synagogue, our strengths, our challenges, our mission, our vision, all to better inform a planning process for our next 3 to 5 years. You were all invited to participate in a congregational survey in the beginning of the year, and roughly half our membership responded, a significantly higher response rate than most participating synagogues. The results of that survey and the analysis of the financial information we submitted were overwhelmingly positive. We were in line with our benchmarks in most areas, and in some cases at or above the top decile. 74% of members participating in the survey said that the synagogue helped them grow spiritually or intellectually as a Jew over the past 3 years. And 78% said we helped them develop a deeper sense of belonging to a community or something bigger than themselves. 88% of respondents said that they would recommend our synagogue to a friend. Let me just say that if 88% of you actually do recommend us to your friends this year, I promise my Kol Nidre address next year will be shorter. The wordle that you see on the screens on the Bima are a graphic depiction of the words most used by the members participating in the survey to describe our community. The larger the word, the more times it was used. What a lovely and inspiring image. We also obtained input from 70 congregants through one-on-one interviews with an outside consultant focused around the physical condition of the sanctuary, including the accessibility issues we were all concerned about. Again, we were met with a higher than expected response rate indicative of an engaged and committed membership. We learned that the physical condition of our facility was the next to highest spending priority of those interviewed, second only to the religious school. We are following up on these interviews by analyzing the potential path forward and by seeking your additional input. If you weren't able to attend the town hall meeting this past Sunday, where we shared highlights of the results from the URJ study, I would encourage you to come to our second session on Wednesday, September 26th at 7:30 p.m. to hear what we have learned from you so far, and much more importantly, to share your additional thoughts. We are also organizing small group gatherings in congregants' homes this month and next, and we encourage one-on-one conversations with our clergy, professional staff, or lay leaders, all to gather additional input about Scarsdale Synagogue today and moving forward. Just to be clear, we are planning for our future not because of any current crisis, but because we recognize and want to meet our challenges thoughtfully and intentionally as we move forward together toward building on our strengths to an even stronger and more meaningful Reformed Jewish community. I already shared some powerful statistics about our members finding meaning and connection through our community. I also want to share a few examples of where I've found that meaning and connection and exactly what it looks like. It's going to take a second. The photos that will come up on the screen are from an incredibly impactful program that our teens participated in, there you go, called Better Together. As a part of a curriculum exploring themes of growing up and growing older, making responsible decisions, and being a Jewish teenager, these Scarsdale Synagogue teams made ongoing visits to Jewish seniors at the Hebrew home in Riverdale. Teens taught seniors about their world, like how to communicate with out-of-town relatives over the internet, and the seniors shared stories of their lives and lessons learned. You can see the rich intergenerational relationships that were created. A video about this program made by our students is available online and is a powerful illustration of how our children's lives are enriched by value-laden Jewish programming, even after their B'nai Mitzvot. After this program concluded, Rabbi Brown and Rabbi Glickman met with these students and their parents to discuss what the next year might look like. And I'm delighted to report that all but one of those rising 10th graders, many of whom began with us in Mazel Tots, have chosen to continue in our religious school, with another former student rejoining. I wish I had pictures of the religious school year-end musical festival, Zimriyah. Children of our community of all ages shared just a tiny bit of what they had learned about Jewish culture, history, traditions, and values. From the youngest to the oldest, they were at turns adorable, serious, funny, and ultimately inspiring. It was really moving to see how much of our religious heritage is being absorbed by the children of this community, and to know that together, this community is acting as a vital link in sustaining and passing on all that the Reformed Jewish movement has to offer by our support and subsidizing of the education of our community's children, just as Jewish communities have done for generations upon generation. As you heard on Rosh Hashanah, this year also saw a dizzying array of new programs and formats centered around worship. Several of our own fascinating and accomplished congregants generously shared their knowledge and expertise with us, including Irving Picard's experience on the Madoff case, Michael Hoffman of CNBC discussing economic issues with his colleague Steve Leisman, and Bill Gruskin speaking about fake news. We also learned about anti-Semitism at the time of the Roosevelts from historian Will Swift, and about the recent rise in anti-Semitism from a speaker from the Anti-Defamation League. We are so grateful to the Brotherhood for so many of these programs and to everyone else who contributed to this powerful innovation in our worship experiences. Attendance at services increased so much that you wouldn't believe me if I gave you actual numbers, but I have it on good authority that the plans for this year are amazing as well. But even better, so many of this year's innovative service programs were the site of clear community connection. Our recent pilot program of 3 Stars at Night, an intergenerational Havdalah program, saw the synagogue buzzing with literally every age of our membership, from the youngest of children to some of our most cherished seniors, all enjoying an assortment of engaging activities, including food, entertainment, and of course, worship. And finally, I want to share the example of this year's incredible Pride Shabbat. We heard the compelling personal account of Yelena Goldsman, a Jew who emigrated from the Soviet Union to the United States in the 1980s with her husband and children. In the US, she was able to better understand and accept her homosexuality, and over many years came out to her husband and then her children, then remarrying and ultimately founding an international organization helping countless others in the Russian LGBTQ community. While the majority of those present were completely absorbed in Yelena's story, it was also difficult to miss the contingent of adoring relatives of a precious newborn who were also present and whose eyes were glued to the comings and goings of that baby in and out of the room. The service turned to a baby naming for this little one, and everyone present was equally rapt as the baby's father explained the meaning behind each of the names they had chosen for their baby girl. The community connection in the room was absolutely palpable. When the service ended, everyone lingered at the Oneg like old friends in no rush to go home. These stories are just a snapshot of what is happening here and what your support of Scarsdale Synagogue goes towards. Nothing less than nurturing Reformed Jewish congregational life, and through our sacred community, supporting the Reformed Jewish movement and all that it has to offer, bringing meaning and growth to our members' lives, supporting, sustaining, and disseminating Jewish values in the world, teaching Jewish traditions and values to our children, creating meaningful opportunities for all of our members to come together, to learn, to worship, to mourn, to celebrate, to live, all with the love and support of a connected community. We moved to a pledge model a few years ago because of our deeply held community values of inclusivity and personal dignity, not because we no longer need traditional levels of support. We did not want membership to financially burden anyone. We didn't want anyone to be embarrassed by needing to disclose financial difficulties. We are gratified that the vast majority of members have continued to support our community at or above the level at which they were contributing before the change to the pledge model, including many congregants who had been paying reduced dues. Some congregants have reduced their annual pledge, and we're proud to continue to count them as members of our community with dignity and at a level of support that is not burdensome to them. To answer perhaps the most often repeated question in this congregation, yes, the pledge model has been a success. The increase in pledges over dues in year one was double what it would have been typically under the dues model and greater than the traditional 3% in year two as well. That being said, costs rise every year, and we can only sustain this community with the continued support of all of our members at the most significant level that is not financially burdensome for each person or family. Many in this community already pledge above the requested sustaining amount and also give generously throughout our annual cycle of appeals. Some members choose to make additional donations to specific programs of particular personal significance, or to donate in memory or in honor of someone. There are so many ways to support this community and its sacred work. We are grateful for every dollar and for every hour donated. And of course, we were all so inspired by the example of our anonymous donor who offered to match the first $25,000 of pledge increases above 3% this year. Through that incredible example of generosity and support for this community, we received pledges above and beyond the requested 3% increase, aggregating over $40,000 so far. Thank you to everyone who participated, and especially to our anonymous donor, whose commitment and example inspired so many to do so much. Your support sustains and nurtures this community, as this community is here to sustain and nurture you. Whether you came here tonight to reflect and reset spiritually, to see friends, to set an example for our children, because it's what we all do, whatever your reason or reasons, there is one universal commonality. Each of us chose to come here to spend this time together. Each and every reason why we joined the synagogue, why we remain, why we are here tonight, each of those reasons is absolutely more powerful because we are here together in community. So I ask you, members of this sacred community, to please contribute generously to this year's Kol Nidre campaign and throughout the year to help sustain our community so that we can continue to thrive and inspire and work to preserve and strengthen our precious heritage. Can you hear it, son? Thank you.